Alrighty, we are going to dive in to learn about Central America and the Caribbean. Both of these are part of North America, the continent, but we split it up and did North America in a separate week unit. So let's take a look at the locations you're going to need to know for this week. You're going to need to know the Central American countries, and you're going to need to know the Caribbean countries, not every island. So the main ones that are mentioned here. Of course, we have Florida coming down from the United States, the Gulf of Mexico. Mexico sticks out. Those are all parts of what we did for North America. Then we have the Central America countries. Central America is an isthmus or land body between North America and South America. We have Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. We have the Panama Canal that splits through Panama and connects the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. Now, here's one way that you can remember the Central American countries in order from left to right, like you're reading in a book, okay? So Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. If you remember the saying, good boys eat hamburgers, not chicken patties, then you can remember them in order. Good is Guatemala, boys is Belize, eat is El Salvador, hamburgers is Honduras, not Nicaragua, chicken Costa Rica, and patties is Panama. We will also be looking at a study story to learn all of these areas in the next slide on a video. This song is extra helpful to learn the countries of Central America, and it is one of the best torture songs of the year. I highly recommend you watch it multiple times. We will be learning a study story to help us learn the countries of Central America and the Caribbean, so stay tuned for that. Let's take a look. The teacher lesson will be posted here for the video. Let's get into the lesson. So first of all, where is Central America and the Caribbean? Well, we already know it's part of North America. So here's North America, and you can see here is the isthmus or land bridge between North America and South America. Here's the Caribbean. The Caribbean Sea is here, and these islands are islands that are located there. These are both in the Western Hemisphere, and they are actually both in the Northern Hemisphere. The equator goes right here through Ecuador, right here through Ecuador. So both of these are north of that. They would be in the Northern Hemisphere. Let's take a look at place. Place is how, what is it like there? So let's look at a physical map showing us the areas of mountains. We can see there's some mountainous areas. Actually, Central America and Caribbean are actually have quite a few volcanoes. So you can see it's mountainous here. And on a political map, you can see how humans have made political boundaries of all the different countries. Let's take a look more at place. Place also includes its weather. So the annual temperature and in the Caribbean and Central America is always warm. It's a lot closer to the equator, and of course it gets a lot more warm weather, whereas we are up in this temperate area here and we have 4 seasons. In this area that we're studying this week, it is hot and humid all of the time. If I take a look at this map, I can see what kind of trees grow, and I can see that Central America and the Caribbean is bright green. If I look for my key, I can see that it's rainforest. So we live up in the area of this bright green here, but it's deciduous forest. Forest trees that lose their leaves in the winter, right? We have the fall and they change color and then they fall from the trees. And in the winter, their trees are naked. But in Central America and the Caribbean, they have rainforest weather. So they have lush green trees and plants year round. Another part of place for Central America and the Caribbean is population density. That would show us some human characteristics. If I look at my key, I can see that the dark red areas are the most highly populated, meaning they have the most people. These would be urban areas in here. Then if I go down to my least amount of population, the dark green, those would be my most rural areas, the least amount of people. And in between, that's going to be people spread out through small towns and more suburban kinds of areas. I can look at the language. Human characteristics of this area would be language. There's a lot of different languages spoken in the Caribbean because of the movement of people into that area to settle. So France has some territories, and England has some territories, and Holland or the Netherlands has some territories, and Spanish has some territories. So there's Spanish and French and Dutch and English and Creole, all sorts of mixed languages spoken in the Caribbean. And you can see here there's a map of different places have settled: the Netherlands, France, United Kingdom, United States. There's some Spain, things like that. Let's take a look at plant and animal life. Because of the weather and because of the climate, the weather and the plants and animals are very different in Central America and the Caribbean than they are here. So here are some Central American animals. We would not see these where we live because we live in a temperate area, but you can see the lush green rainforest and the bright flowers that grow year round, and all the different kinds of animals they would have there. That's part of their place. Place is also human characteristics, and so I'm taking a look. This is actually in Honduras, and I want you to see that the life of people is different in different places. So this is a school in Honduras, and you can see it's very different from our school. Life is not the same in all parts of the world. Not everyone has a kitchen like you might have in your house. And so this is a kitchen in Honduras in one of the houses. And their urban areas look very different than our urban areas. New York City is one of our urban areas. This is an urban area in Honduras, and you can see that it's stacked up against each other. It's just, gives you an idea of what some people live like in the world, and we're studying about place, Central America. Place in the Caribbean. In the Caribbean, this happens to be in Curacao, and there's a lot of different culture in the Caribbean. Culture would include things like religion and food and entertainment and music and what they wear. So you can see that it's a very different culture than we have. And studying about places gives us a insight into a lot of what people live like and what their culture is. So it's fascinating to study about other countries. In a place, we like to look at the different kinds of ways that people live. And so we're comparing in this data chart, we're comparing the highest poverty country in Central America and the Caribbean, North America. Let's just go with North America. The highest poverty country in North America is Haiti, and the wealthiest country is the United States. And when you look at each of these areas, you really can see a difference between what poverty has in a country and what wealth can bring to a country. Developing countries versus developed countries. So life expectancy, the average amount of time a person is expected to live, is much lower in a country with high poverty. That means there's less health care, there's less education, there's less access to healthy foods, and it's higher in an area that's more developed. Hospital beds. We have more hospital beds in a wealthier nation than in a developing nation. Population below poverty means that 58% of the people in Haiti live below the poverty line. That means that they don't have enough money for food, water, and shelter. As we're in the United States, 15%. Agricultural labor force. We know that agriculture is farming and labor means work. So this is how many people work in the field of farming. 38% of people in Haiti, whereas it's less than 1% in the United States. Unemployment means how many people cannot get a job. 40% of Haiti is unemployment, whereas we only have 6.2 in the United States. So they cannot have a job. If you don't have a job, then you can't earn money. If you can't earn money, you cannot buy food, water, and shelter. Approved drinking water. This is an important one to take a look at. Not everywhere in the world is lucky like we are to have clean water. When you go into your bathroom and you brush your teeth, you turn on a faucet and clean water comes right to you. And you can drink out of your faucet and not get sick. Most of the world, actually, there's many places in the world that don't have clean water, and it's one of the largest causes of death in the world is contaminated water. So we're very lucky to be living in a developed country where we have clean water, that when we drink water out of the faucet, we don't get sick. But that's not true in a place like Haiti. Their water is contaminated and it's not fresh and it's not clean. So when they drink it, if it's not filtered, then they can get very sick, and that can cause lots of different diseases, and it including death. We have 99% clean water in the United States. So we're living in a very we're lucky to live where we live because it's so healthy. Literacy. Literacy is how many people can read and write in that civilization or that society. Haiti has only 60% of people can read and write. In the United States, it's more like 97, and now it's actually up a little bit higher. These are a little older statistics, 2016. So literacy, if you don't have educated people in a country, because they don't have mandatory school and they don't have access to learn math and reading and writing and social studies and science, then it's harder for them to get a job. And then if they can't get a job, then they can't buy food, water, and shelter. And so life is always harder when you cannot get an education or you do not get an education. So we have a much higher literacy rate, a rate of people being educated. Child labor means the amount of children below the age of 15 that are allowed to work. So in our country, kids can get a job when they get old enough, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. They can get a job part-time somewhere. But we don't have the kind of child labor that some other countries do. So 21% of the children in Haiti, instead of going to school, must work for a living, meaning that they could be children working on a farm for the most part, or in factories, or in different kinds of jobs where they're doing manual labor. So that's part of the reason the literacy rate is lower, because so many kids are working on a farm. We have less than 0.01 child labor because we're not having kids work at a young age on a farm or in a factory or doing manual labor. They're in school because we understand the value of an education and how important it is to your success. Adult obesity just kind of shows that if you can't have enough food, water, and shelter, then you don't have enough healthy foods. And so your obesity rate is really low, which could be a good thing in terms of American obesity. 35% of our population is obese, and that's not a very good statistic. But it's because we have access to so much food that we actually go beyond what we actually need for survival. Physical characteristics. We've been studying about landforms. There's many different landforms within Central and South America. We will study about some of these. A cay is low islands. A volcano is a vent in the Earth's surface. You can pause this video and read these definitions. I won't go through all of them in this teacher lesson. Pause the video and read the definitions. But you will see, and in class we will practice recognizing different landforms. So if I'm looking for an island, I can see that this is an island here. I can't tell if this is an island, but I can definitely tell this is an island or this is an island. A peninsula is land that sticks out into water. I can see this is a peninsula here. This could be considered a peninsula. This could be considered a peninsula. And this might be a peninsula, but we don't know because we can't see what it's connected to. A strait is a narrow body of water that connects to larger bodies of water. So if I have a strait right here, could be a strait. It connects this water with this water. I could have a strait in between here, connects this water and this water. This might even be considered a strait that connects this water and this water. And the coast is the area of land along the ocean or along the water. All around these islands, all around these are the coast. Sometimes a coast is beachy, sometimes a coast is rocky. Let's take a look at some more. A peninsula, land that sticks out into water. This would be a peninsula. A strait, narrow water that connects two bodies of water. So in between these two could be a strait connecting this and this. An archipelago is a group or chain of islands. So this would be an archipelago right here. A coast would be land where the land meets the water. All along the edge would be this coast. It could be beachy or rocky. A reef, like a coral reef, all of this is a coral reef. And a gulf is right here. Our most famous gulf that we know about, of course, is the Gulf of Mexico. This would be considered a gulf as well. Moving on to region. another theme of geography. So some regions could be climate related, meaning what's the weather like over a long period of time. You can see that this is all hot areas. The climate zones in the Caribbean and Central America are very hot. You could also consider the Caribbean and Central America part of the region of Latin America. Latin America is a region that has a common history, a common culture, common language, common food. And so we put them together and we say how they're the same. They're Latin America. Movement, people and ideas and things get around. Exports and imports. Exports go out of a place. Imports come into a place. So here are some of the major exports of Central America and the Caribbean: clothing and shoes, coffee, petroleum, oil, petroleum apparel means another word for clothing, sugar, crawfish, rum and sugar, oil, textiles. So that's a lot of things get shipped out because that's what they make in those areas. Other examples of movement would be tourism. A lot of people go into the Caribbean and Central America for vacation. So they would move there to go on vacation. Here's an example of a large ship that's shipping things out, exports, or bringing things in, imports. All of the things they can't get in the Caribbean and Central America come in from other places in the world, and that's imports. We don't always have the same transportation in all different parts of the world. You can see the cars look very different here than they look in the United States. These are in Central America, and you can see that in the United States, you really don't go around looking on the tops of trains and seeing people riding on the top. But this is very common in Central America for people to travel on top of a train. In our country, we have some safety laws that would prevent that from happening to protect people. More movement. The Caribbean and Central America have a long history of discovery and exploration. So people came from Europe and so Spain and France and the Netherlands and England, and they came to explore the New World. I put that in air quotes because, of course, there were already people here, indigenous people, when Columbus came. He was not the first to discover the New World. And so we have explorers coming into Central America, and that is part of the reason why Central America and the Caribbean are so diverse, is they're made up from so many different cultures from so many different countries have come into them. And so we have a lot of European people coming into Central America and the Caribbean. We also have a dark time in our history, a negative time in our history, and you'll learn about that in other classes. But there was a time when slaves from Africa were brought into the New World and to work, and so they were taken from their homes in their villages of Africa, brought over to the New World and sold. They were sold to owners who would own them and make them work for free. So you'll learn about that in other classes, but it just goes to show how the diversity really increased in Central America and the Caribbean, because we have so many people that came from Africa as well as Europe in the last slide. Immigration and emigration, those are words to know in 6th grade. Emigration means to leave a place to go live elsewhere. Immigration means to come live into a new place. So we're not going to get too much into immigration in this lesson, but I do want you to think about why would people, this is the theme of movement, people move for different reasons. Why would people want to emigrate their own country? Emigrate their own country, meaning leave their own country to live somewhere else. I want you to think about that. That might be for safety. There might be war in their country. There might not be enough resources. They might have an opportunity to get a job. They might move somewhere else to go to school and get an education. They might go because there's not enough food, water, and shelter. So there's a lot of reasons that people emigrate from their country. And when you study about emigration, then you understand immigration a bit more. How do humans interact with the environment? That's the theme of human-environment interaction. Well, in Central America and the Caribbean, one of the most common natural disasters would be a hurricane. So people have to adapt to a world where they live with common hurricanes. One of the things they do is put their houses up on stilts for when the water rises. It helps to prevent flooding in their houses. You will notice from these pictures that houses look very different in Central America. These happen to be in Honduras than we are used to in the United States. Every country of the world has different kinds of housing depending on the amount of wealth in the area. Another thing to remember about Central America and the Caribbean is access to fresh water, like we talked about in the last few slides, was that they don't have water like we do. They have to go to a well and pump it out. And sometimes that is clean water and sometimes it's not. And sometimes they boil it to make it safer, and sometimes they don't know to do that and they get sick. So living in this part of the world, one thing that is definitely where humans have to overcome something is dirty water. We also, this should have gone into the place, but people have learned over time that they don't have bathrooms in their houses in a lot of these countries. And so if they don't have bathrooms in their houses, then that waste from humans is going into the ground and it's getting into the groundwater. And that's one of the reasons their water is not clean. And so it's important to be able to build bathrooms and this is called a latrine. So it's an outdoor bathroom that has a deep pit. And then the person would go in to use the bathroom and it would go into the earth, but it would be protected inside a case and limited to a certain area, and then people would not get water from that area. So it's very important that the cleanliness of our water is really important. Human interaction with the environment. Also, humans impact the earth in a lot of different ways. And a lot of what we're seeing in the last 15 years is that coral reefs that are supposed to look like this in the Caribbean are starting to look like this. And that is a lot in part because of human pollution. We're polluting our water, and that changes the acidity level, and the acidity level gets too high. It doesn't support life. And if it doesn't support life, then coral and plants can't grow there, and neither can animals and fish survive. All right, there are some informational videos for you to take a look at this week. There are also torture videos. I will give you an extra warning. These are extra torturous. So you have been warned. If you watch them, they might melt your brain. They might melt your brain. There will be practice this week. This song is especially helpful, and this is a practice that you can do online to quiz yourself Central America. We'll be doing practice in class. This map is especially helpful for you to try to guess what goes with what. We'll be practicing some more locations, getting ready for our quiz, some more locations, going beyond. For those of you who want to learn more about Central America and the Caribbean, look on the Going Beyond page to find some videos that we will not have time for in class. So I guess that is all that we have to learn about Caribbean and Central America. Remember, all of these links are clicked into the places around the slides for you to navigate that way. Okay, so I will see you in class, and good luck learning about Central America and the Caribbean, and get ready for your quiz. If you don't study, you will not succeed. So put in the time now. Excellent advice from me. All right, that's